good evening. How are you doing this evening? I'd have to say I'm doing pretty good. Um, my shoulder's a little sore from maybe holding it in one position too long, so I'm kind of feeling the effects of my 40s. I don't remember feeling this way when I was in my 20s. And today, I would say it was a pretty good day work-wise. Nothing really to report on that. So yeah. So I think as a whole, yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good. I was just having to contemplate for a moment while I was stretching. So we're going to continue our journey observing and learning about tarot reversals by Mary Greer. And of course, you always get a little bit of my feedback when I go through these. And because we're kind of going over some key things with the cards, I pretty well think we're going to make our way through all 78 without an issue. Because I think last time that I went through, four of them last time? Or actually, I initially went through the full, and then I went through, four of them. And tonight we're starting out with 5 through 8. So I think doing about 4 cards each go live will get us through it probably quicker than what you and I would even think. So let's see here. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Hierophant. And I will hold this card up here. And again, these are major Arcana cards, which of course are very reflective of the major life changes. So with some key things about the Hierophant, or also known as the Pope, so it's definitely got like a Catholic type feel to it. This card is about teaching, counseling, and learning. This is the person that teaches you what you should or ought to know or do to be part of an established group or organization. So like, to my understanding, to become a Catholic, and this is from my experience conversing with people who are Catholics and from attending a Jesuit university for my nursing degree, there are certain things that you have to do in order to become a Catholic. So this would be like the person who's basically going over the expectations of what needs to be accomplished. Or like for me, an example was years ago, I considered being Lutheran, and I would meet with a pastor once weekly to talk about the Bible and all this good stuff. And as he and I would meet and I would delve a bit more into what it meant to be a Lutheran, I just determined it wasn't a good fit for me due to various things that is part of their way of doing things in the church, that it just didn't resound with me was all. So again, this very much touches upon traditional values, established knowledge. This is like the gatekeeper for these things. The Hierophant, this is someone who teaches you in laws created by deity, society, and government. So this would also be a figure that would be like a judge, a teacher. Say certain covens, you have to meet certain expectations in order to become part of a coven. So again, they're very much like the gatekeepers of knowledge. And Mary mentions in her text, this could be like a guru of sorts, an established source for this. She says the word Hierophant means one who reveals the sacred by bringing it to intelligible light. So this is very much someone who's sharing knowledge. It says you might turn to church or temple to show the way, or employ meditation and spiritual practices. So really, in gist, that's what we're looking at when we're looking at, like, the upright meaning of this, just kind of skimming the surface. And of course, if you're new to my group or you need more of an in-depth review of the upright meanings of the cards, all of the tarot teaching moments can be found on YouTube under Mountain Crow Tarot. So feel free to check it out, because when I started these, I would break it down by all the various symbols on the cards and different sources. So please refer to that. So to take the Hierophant and then have the reversal energy, so Mary says this can refer to questioning conventional, like say mores is what she calls it, but this is conventional religion, law, expectations, disobeying rules, doubting or flaunting moral principles, or rejecting religious training. This is questioning authority when it's upside down. So it could be being exposed to a various way of thinking, of doing. If it doesn't resonate or it clashes with who we are as people, then we're not going to have the upright energy. We're no longer seeking approval to be part of something. If anything, we're going to question it a bit, right? So this could also be seen as a too rigid or dogmatic energy. So this is somebody who very much would not be like necessarily a safe space to be able to question and talk about things. I almost think to cults. When we see them, they do various documentaries on them and about basically how people, they are very much indoctrinated, a bit brainwashed into their faith, and believing that certain central figures, such as David Koresh with Waco, Texas, was like a messiah, and they fully believed that, and that's why they were willing to die for that man, and even give up their children in service to him. So that would be taking an energy and having a very negative turn on things, which I know we're talking about reversals are not all negative, but that definitely would be the extreme side of this. A thing I highlighted here was a path to which you have committed might prove limited and restrictive. So this is not a very good energy to grow from whatsoever. To where you can tell that it would be to your own detriment or to the detriment of others if you were to maintain that path of trying to get into that organization, faith or whatnot, And then it could also show feeling betrayed by those whom you admire or by the system. So very much feeling kind of let down, right? So that pretty well is the first card that we're going over tonight, which would be the Hierophant. And of course, if you have anything to add, feel free to add it to the comments. So the next card would be the Lovers. And so we'll kind of briefly review a few things from Mary Greer's viewpoint about the Lovers. And I like what she had to share on this. You may be working on a relationship of any kind, with family, friends, co-workers, lovers, spirit, as well as different aspects of yourself. The Lovers often links or shows an association between cards on either side of it. That's interesting. So if you've got a card on either side of it, it shows the relationship between those two cards, which will be attracted to or balance each other, because essentially we're looking at a balance when it's upright. So astrologically, this card does correspond to Gemini, and it does allude to communication. So not just balance, but communication. The nudity of the two figures in the Rider-Waite-Smith picture suggests you want to reveal yourself and be accepted for who you truly are without hiding anything. And that reminds me of like in the Bible, before Eve was tempted and bit of the forbidden fruit from the knowledge, from the tree of good and evil is what it was called. And before, as a result of that, her and Adam were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. They would wander around and they were not ashamed of their nudity whatsoever. They didn't feel the need to hide. So this is a very Christian reference with this card when both of them are very much nude and not ashamed of it. So there's no fig leaves or anything over their anatomy. And ideally, with relationships, that's what we're looking for, right? Is to be accepted for who we are instead of something that we're not. Love could be freeing you from inhibitions or guilt. Perhaps you need to reconcile and balance some duality within yourself. So this can also point to your relationship with yourself and kind of making peace with what that is and what it looks like. Perhaps you desire a spiritual rather than physical union. Your own sense of self-worth may be mirrored by the way a partner treats you. Consider what you most love and who or what you are choosing as a companion. I like how she worded that, who or what. And again, we're looking at harmony and balance with it being upright. Now, to look at the reversal energy of this, we are looking at what Mary Greer calls an intangible union, and balance is offset. You could be in a relationship that is challenging, inharmonious, immature, or unhealthy, especially involving matters shown by the flanking cards. So again, Mary Greer says to look at the card to the left and the right of this card, and you're seeing what two elements, what two things are out of balance. So I thought that was really cool. In the area of romance, you might be seduced or seducing without love. Or your love is unrequited, or unrequited is how you pronunciate that, meaning it's not returned. There can be sexual frustration or incompatibility because, again, we don't have harmony and balance here, so that is offset. She even alluded to fatal attraction or stalking with it in the reverse. It makes me think of that one movie from a long time ago, the beautiful blonde-headed lady. I can't think of her name right now. And what's his face? The guy. He married Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michael Douglas. There you go. It's that one. Oh, Glenn Close, I think is her name. But anyhow, she was stalking him in the movie, and she just, yeah, it was a different movie from my memory, from remembering. But yeah, so we're looking at the opposite of the upright energy with the Lovers. We're also looking at self-indulgent pleasure, lust, and hedonism, mistrust or deception, quarrels, infidelity. Occasionally, this card can indicate splitting up, separation, or divorce. So, I thought that was interesting. Just kind of hold that up there so you guys can check it out a bit. So it makes sense because if it's upright, the two central figures are very much grounded. But then if we hold it in reverse, then it does appear that they're going to fall, right? Like from the force of gravity, they cannot remain grounded. And so, yeah, I thought that was an interesting viewpoint on that. The next one being the Chariot. So Mary Greer says the original card game of trumps or tarocchi was probably based on triumphal marches featuring cards like this one. She says you may be triumphing, that is winning a victory or proving your mastery. You may be seeking power over the conditions of your life, where you're taking the reins, right? Let's see here. You are asked to develop an ego that will move you toward your destination while keeping instincts such as the sphinxes or horses and emotions, the moons on the shoulders, firmly under control. In essence, you're striving to control your vehicle, hone your abilities, and focus on achieving your goals. So again, like we're in a chariot year, if you add up 2, 2, 3, then you get the total of 7, which is why we're in a chariot year with it being 2023. So this year is to be the year where we're all making progression in some form or fashion, right? In the theoretical chariot, which is our lives. Dressing for success provides an armor, which he has in a parentheses, and also makes a clear statement of your professionalism. It is also a mask, role, or subpersonality that disguises your vulnerability. More frequently, it indicates travel and transportation. So that's what the upright meaning. Now with it in reverse, okay, we're generally speaking about the opposite meaning or an extreme, right, of the upright. So basically, Mary Greer points out, if it's in reverse, and if we're making forward momentum or progression, at what cost to ourselves or others, which could be a negative thing and to the detriment of ourselves and others. She alludes to writing for a fall. This could be overconfident, maybe not having the skill set or knowledge to be successful in endeavors that we, basically determine that we're going to do and move forward, and maybe not even giving it as much forethought as what we should. We just rush into it, right? It can also reflect conflicts and problems due to opposing ideas and aims, and of course the bumps in the road that can slow and hinder progression. She also points out you may not want to leave home, preferring to focus your energies locally or on an inward journey. So it can show a delay. If you think of one word for like the, reversal of the chariot, we're thinking about delays. And also, I would say keep in mind what Mary Greer says about the cost. If we get ahead in life, which I was just talking to a good friend of mine tonight via FaceTime, she and I conversed a bit. Even if we get ahead in life, at what cost? What kind of community are we forming or not forming from our actions? It does very much matter how you get from point A to point B, I think, with the actions and the consequences from them. And then the last card we'll go over tonight would be this one, which is the Strength card, which is the 8th Major Arcana card. So Mary says that with this one, you could be handling your emotions, befriending your instincts, and facing whatever can devour you. You develop self-confidence by discovering the power within, rather than exerting the chariot's power over. So I loved how she worded that. With the chariot, it's the power over, but with strength, it's the power within. And so it's accepting and respecting the instincts of your own inner nature. And we're looking at courage, confidence, patience, and perseverance. And again, think of like a single-minded focus, very much determined. And when you hear about somebody having a lion's heart, that's what they're referring to. So even though the lion, very much, the lady in the picture, it looks like she's trying to hold its mouth closed. The lion is very strong and intelligent and capable, but it's choosing to be vulnerable around her, which takes a lot of bravery, I think, to be able to say, the lion, for it to open itself up and to allow her to do that when you think about it. Now, looking at the central character, which is the female in the card, this card is also about forging connections and establishing bonds, which the two of them do have. In the role of good listener, you can encourage and sustain others. You might ease pain or quiet rage using love and gentle understanding. By combining passionate commitment with gentle guidance and loving direction, you can cope with crisis calmly and confidently, and thus soothe the savage beast. So this could also be the central figure here, soothing the lion, And you see the figure 8 above her head, the infinity symbol. This is very much a continuum. It could also be reflected like an Ouroboros, which would be like the huge snake eating its own tail. But this is very cyclical, and it's a nature of give and take, which is generally all relationships. But like we just touched upon with the lovers, if it's upright, we have balance. But if it's in reverse, we don't have balance. We definitely have that component here because we have a friendship. There is some sort of relationship here. There's a trust and loyalty and a vulnerability displayed by both of them. To be present with, say, the other one. So it could be very possible that she is trying to help this poor lion. Maybe it's got a dental issue. Maybe something's caught in its teeth. Or there's something going on that she's just trying to help the guy out, you know? And he's allowing her to do so, even if it could cause maybe pain or discomfort. Sometimes this indicates a love of or involvement with animals, especially felines. And you may need firmness of will, strength of character, and clarity of mind or purpose with this card. Let's see here. Or you might simply have to apply physical strength to some task at hand. So I like how she put that. Mind over matter, patience, calmness, authority, command, endurance, fortitude, strength, of course, because it's called strength. Now, if we go into reverse, now we're going to kind of take a little bit of a deep dive on that. So she's saying here, perhaps you're struggling with a divided self, the inner discord of intellect versus instincts. Or you could use your personal power to dominate or to subjugate others. So that would be like taking away another person's rights, their voice, doing harm in some shape or fashion. Which, when we think back to the rule of 3, which not everybody believes in it, but I do, that you do generally get back 3 times of what you put out into the universe. So it's that negative versus positive karma. And with it being upside down in reverse, we're talking about negative repercussions of the things we say and do. There can be failure, cowardliness, personal weakness and debility or rashness, excessive pride, and an overweening will are some things she threw out there. This could be when projected onto others, you may see them as emotional or controlling. Perhaps you feel they are trying to bind you through their enchantments. So we're seeing tyranny, abuse of power. She also has here state, government, and administration. So this could be feeling powerless because of something like that, like a bigger entity. Weakness, helplessness, imperfection, discord. So I thought that was interesting. And I think that pretty well sums up tonight for those 4 cards. And so the next time I hop on, we'll start off with the Hermit and we'll work our way through those. Let me find my bookmark. So, for everybody watching this, I hope this finds you well and that you get an evening of rest and that you have a great week. And I will see you later. Good night.